Hello, welcome to the Soulprint mini readings. I want to take a look at the Supreme Court. It feels very much like it's sort of careening a little bit out of control. Some of the justices feel like nobody should question them in any way, shape, or form. Chief Justice Roberts doesn't feel like he has control anymore of the court or the members of the court. And they will just continue to put out like literally rulings that are rolling back the United States by decades and decades, and sometimes I fear centuries. So I want an overview of what's going to happen there. So let's take a look and see if we can get some idea of what this looks like as it moves forward in the sort of more immediate future. Supreme Court um, trajectory ethics. Supreme Court trajectory ethics. Supreme Court trajectory ethics. Take a look. For those of you who have been watching me for a long time, you know, probably, or might remember, that my definition of the devil is backwards. Okay, so if you spell devil backwards, you get live. If you spell evil backwards, you get live. So very, very often when I see the devil card, I automatically sort of look for what's going on, why things are backwards. Okay, so this is not only about the greed of power. All right. It is also about the fact that they have truly become quite disconnected to this citizenship of the country. They are kind of doing their own little thing, and more, they're drifting farther away from. I mean, their approval rating apparently is as horrible as it's ever been, and I don't see that approval rating going up. They are listening to they're listening to advice, and it hasn't been wise. And slowly but surely, they're going to start getting some news, whether this is, Sheldon Whitehouse finally get something going and there's actually some sort of ethics rules put into place that can become law. But they're going to start getting more bad news, more difficult things to hear. And it's going to center on, it feels like three justices. So we can suppose that might be Alito and Thomas. I don't know, maybe Kavanaugh. I don't know. But there's more bad news kind of coming because as they try to put themselves above the law, as they try to make it seem that they cannot be questioned and should not be questioned, and now they're whining because people are being mean to them. Like, grow up. But this is sort of where they end up. Okay. So there's definitely an energy around it that there needs to be some significant shifts and changes that go on because at some point they will have lost so much credibility that for all intent and purposes, they're going to be like completely dysfunctional. And so I'm just going to ask energetically, um, what's Biden's response to this? Like, is this something he is aware of? Is it on his list? Is it his priority? Um, what is most likely to happen as we go forward with Scotus and Biden? What does that look like going forward? Okay, so there is serious talk in inner circles about increasing the number of justices and just to bring some sort of balance back. Um, the justices themselves within the group are not getting along very well. And so there's a lot of infighting and bickering. And that's just adding to sort of the turmoil and the tension, etc. So Biden is aware of what's going on. It is definitely one of the things he wants to look at. Um, in some, it sort of feels like if he needs to add to the Supreme Court, it almost feels like it's not. It's almost not going to be necessary. I have to wonder if there isn't going to be yet something else that comes out and there really is a internal push for certain people to consider retiring. Um, but very definitely the court is in turmoil. Biden is watching that situation very carefully. He's not, a foolish man. He's been in this political game for a long time. And one of the things he knows is that he can't get his legislation through and have it be successful if people are immediately suing like they did with the debt relief program for students, um, and taking it to court, and then it ends up with the highest court in the land, and they have this very narrow conservative mindset. So he's not going to be able to get through the things that he wants to get through. But in order to do that, he needs, in this coming election, he needs the House, the Senate, sorry, the House, the Senate, and the White House in order to make these significant changes. Um, I just, every time I ask, they show me the number two. So it feels like there are two justices that are going to be making an exit, very possibly um, before the end of this year. Feels like late summer and maybe early fall. So that's what I know. Thank you so much for being here. Take care. Have a really good weekend. Bye bye.